Hello, everyone. This is going to be take two. I am going to put the bloopers up because the dog, right? Today I'm going to talk a little bit about why I'm a mythicist. I am going to get back into doing videos. It's just there's been a lot of changes in my life recently. So, videos have been put on pause. But I will go back into debunking and stuff because I know some of you guys actually like learning some of that stuff. Anyway, why I'm a mythicist when it comes to the Jesus hypothesis question. Um, and I no longer believe he was just a man because being an atheist, it goes without question that I don't believe in any gods. I think they're all fairy tales. I did before I left paganism. So, anyway, the reason why I don't think that Jesus is just some guy is because everything that's written about him or said to be about him comes from a pre-existing pagan source or a pre-existing source within the Jewish religion. Jesus is said to be the right hand of God. Well, there is an angel that is also said to be the right hand of God. And in the Greek, there are major gods and minor gods. And in the Hebrew religion, you have the major god and then you have the minor gods or angels. And the word for angels is the same word that the Greeks use for lesser gods. Logos, I think is what it is. For me, everything that's said to be about Jesus has that kind of pagan or that kind of pre existing root. So, what do we know about Jesus the man? Um, Nazareth. Okay, so this is gonna be a stupid argument, and I don't want you to take this is solid proof that Jesus doesn't exist. But Nazareth didn't really. It wasn't a place for like hundreds of years after Jesus supposedly lived and died. But if he was a real person, he would have been born somewhere else. It just wouldn't have been Nazareth. So you can kind of just scratch that off the list as he came from Nazareth. I mean, the story itself said he was born in Bethlehem. We know Bethlehem existed. So it's just a stupid fucking argument to say that. What else do we know about him? He would have been a Jewish rabbi. Okay, cool, cool. I'm down with that. We know Jewish rabbis existed. What we don't have though is any documentation about his life at all. So things that people propose as being evidence for Jesus, like Josephus and stuff like that, they just don't exist. So if Jesus was just some faith healing rabbi on the move, um, then fine. He just wasn't radical enough to make the 6 o'clock news. In essence, he wasn't important enough to be written about. There was lots of people that were trying to bring about the end of the world, because you got to understand that Christianity is like an apocalyptic cult. The whole goal is that the world fucking ends and then we all go to heaven. That's why Paul preaches like, don't risk sinning because and the end is nigh. That's why you see people out on street corners going, the end is nigh. The whole fucking religion is about bringing about the end of the world. So after the destruction of the second temple, you have people that are like, well, what's going on? Why is God still punishing us? Why is he not bringing about the end of the world like he keeps promising in Daniel and Isaiah and Jeremiah? All these prophets, they can't possibly be wrong, and then we couldn't possibly have gotten it wrong, but God keeps punishing us. Why? And then Christians are like, hey, I have a way to still be Jewish and carry on the Jewish traditions without the need of a temple, because Christianity was actually designed for what are the Gentiles, the people that are outside of the interfaith that could not reach the pilgrimages and go inside the temple and stuff like that. So that's essentially how Christianity kind of spread its market. It had a huge place to saturate. And then, Constantine. But that's different. I've gone into that before. Anyway, everything that we know about this Jesus fella is mythological. If you look at the Gospels that say the Messiah will come riding in on a donkey, that gets mistranslated into Mark, and then or that gets mistranslated into Matthew, and then it gets mistranslated again into Luke. And one of the gospels actually has Jesus riding a mother donkey and a foal at the same time, stacked on top of one another, going down the street and entering into the city. So I mean, that's just nonsense, right? I mean, like, is it prophecy if I say it's gonna happen and then I write it's gonna happen? It's kind of like when J.K. Rowling was writing the prophecy about Harry Potter being the chosen one. She knew that he was gonna be the chosen one ultimately. Like, even in the story, it's like, but it could have been Neville Longbottom. No, it couldn't have. The whole fucking series is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Harry Potter, Harry Potter and the Prisoner. It's about Harry fucking Potter. So if you know the prophecy is going to happen and you write it to be that the prophecy was fulfilled that way, is there really a prophecy? Is that really evidence that we can take that Jesus existed? So I'm just not buying it. I used to think that he was just some guy and that he was important enough to be written about, but in all honesty, he really wasn't. This is all stories made up about him. And you can see this in shit that happened quite recently, okay? 1940s, there was a balloon crash and now aliens. And that was like within 20 years, that whole rumor got started about how it was aliens. John Frum, Tom Navy, the cargo cults, that those people don't exist. Those are allegories to John from America, John from the UK, Tom Navy, Tom from the Navy. Those aren't actual people. Those are organizations and government that visited these little tiny islands and brought civilization to the natives. And these religions sprung up around them. Shamans would hear voices from telephone poles that we were using to call each other on. It's like, oh, the wires are used for messages. Oh, well, shamans can hear messages because they talk to the spirits. So the spirits are communicating through the telephone poles. And that's how religion starts. Quite quickly. Ned Ludd never existed. That the Luddites, that whole story about Ned Ludd burning down a factory because he was like anti technology, never happened. It's a fictional story about a guy. So we know things can be invented. We know people can be invented around ideas. So this idea of needing a Messiah, this idea of the Messiah being like a physical person, it need not have been true. It could have been an allegory for the message of Christianity, which it's I don't know. That's just how I think it is. I think that Jesus was an invention. He was an angel made into a person in order to spread the idea of Christianity. That's what I'm kind of convinced of. I'm happy to be wrong. If there is something that kind of shows like, hey, this is the guy and this is where he lived and all of this, I'm happy to find it. Or I'm happy to be wrong about this. I'm totally open for it. But every piece of information that I've ever presented with as being evidence of Jesus' existence has not fucking been evidence of Jesus' existence. And that's why I continue to do these debunking apologetic series. So again, that is something I'm going to be getting back into. So I figured we would start with why I'm a mythicist and where I'm coming from on this, okay? Because again, we have evidence of gods being turned into humans. Osiris in the Egyptian religion, he quite literally gets turned from a god into a person and then rules and then gets killed and then goes into the underworld and rules again. That's from the Greeks coming in. That's Greek influence. That's not something that was popular until after Greek influence. And that's just the Hellenization of the fucking ancient world. You see the same thing with, again, Christianity. That's a Hellenization of the Jewish religion. There's tons of it. Mithraism. Hellenization. The Romans adopted the Hellenistic gods too. The Greeks influenced everybody. So, I don't know. The way I see it is, it's just an influence, and Jesus is a fake story invented to spread a message of Christianity. even Mormons kind of preserve this idea of Jesus being an archangel, and they believe he's Michael. And that's preserved in this lesser god, Logos, Greek wording of the Hebrew Bible. So that's where I stand. And again, I'm happy to be wrong, but it is what it is. That's it for tonight, guys. Bye bye.